All right, welcome back, everybody. All right, action-packed Thursday show rolls on. Our thanks to Kevin Feeney for joining us. Highlights of that coming up tonight. Riley will have that for you on the sports at 10 for Moorhead and Centennial. We're closing in on kickoff on Saturday afternoon, 1 o'clock inside the Alaris for North Dakota State and North Dakota. Fighting Hawks coming into this game after a really difficult loss. They're probably their worst performance of the season. I'll take probably out of their worst performance of the season in the defeat to South Dakota. And North Dakota State comes in off I'm not going to say shaky. They didn't play as well as they had hoped to, and they still won the game against Youngstown State. And now have to go up for their final road game of the season, knowing they can clinch the Missouri Valley Football Conference Championship with a win, and they've got UND to try and go through. Late yesterday afternoon, I had a chance to visit with head coach Eric Schmidt to get his thoughts on the matchup. And we started, we were talking about what we did with Feeney about coaching in big-time environments. And now, after playing in this game, now he gets to be the head coach in the Bison UND matchup.
It'll be fun. I think you don't probably look at it, especially when you're in this role. Like, you want to make sure that you give, your players as many answers to the test, so they can be successful on game day. I think you really, when you're a head football coach, like, you got your family and you got your team. And those are the two things that, really matter to you. And it's really all you need, and sometimes it's probably, a little bit to some of your shortcomings as a coach when those are the two things that, you focus on. And you just really want those young men to, to have success and to be able to see them, just grow and get better. And I think this is, honestly, Dom, like, to me, like, this is why college football is special, like going with your brothers in games like this. And it's not special because of NIL and because of the portal and because of rev sharing and things like that. It's going and having these journeys and these games and growing with your brothers and having some lifelong relationships. And that's the one thing I think that's cool about this is, you're right. It's different than other games, right? Like, there's families that get divided. There's, people that have gone to both schools that are now, living together and stuff like that. And that's what makes it unique.
I also throw this out, and I was talking about this on my show, that Tim is coaching the Big Ten. You coached in the national championship game at the Sugar Bowl with Michael Penix and J.J. McCarthy. That's as big as it gets in this sport. So I guess that's big. Where does this compare to that? Can it?
Yeah, I think it does, honestly. Like, I've always felt like, you play in these games, you coach in these games, and then you go coach in those games. And obviously, it's different when there's 27 NFL teams, GMs hanging out on the sidelines and, game days there and you're hanging out with all those people and all that kind of stuff. But I do think, just the amount of eyeballs, at this level, the amount of interest in the game, just both sides as far as, trying to make this, really, really important again, that, hey, like, at the end of the day, like, that North Dakota State feels like, hey, we have to beat UND if we're going to be one of the elite teams in the country, and UND being like, hey, we have to be able to beat NDSU if we want to get to where we want to get to, and just, make it be that, these Dakota games, which I think, is kind of where it's gone here the last 3 years, and that you have to be able to get through the Dakota schools if you're going to be able to win a national championship, and get home field and all those types of things. Like, that's what these games come down to. So, and that's what it used to be for a long time. When I grew up I first remember these games in the early 90s, and then all the way through, the winner of this game, typically had home field in the playoffs and had a great opportunity to be able to win a national championship. And now I look at it, when I first got in this league, there was, Northern Iowa was year in and year out really good. Southern Illinois was, a power. We first got to Southern Illinois, Western Kentucky, was kind of, was the whole, league was really strong in the southern part of the league. And now, I know I was gone for 7 years, but now when I come back, like, there's a lot of really good football teams in the northern part, of this league. So, which makes it really cool because regionally, it's all those different, fan bases that kind of cross over, and border each other and those types of things, which makes it a lot of fun.
Let me ask you, you guys were playing such great football for 6 weeks. What happened last week? Did you get your players' attention fully this week in practice after what happened in Vermillion?
Well, I think so. I mean, I think anytime that, you're hurting, you leave something and it really hurts you. I think that's, those are obviously times to grow, and our guys understand that, there's winning things that you need to do in football, Dom. You need to take care of the football. We lost the first time we lost the turnover ratio 3-0. One of those cost us an 80-yard touchdown too as well. Two other, interceptions, and then the field position part of it is really important. That and a lot of times that comes down to special teams. So, giving up a block punt for a safety and then a long kickoff return where they only had to go 22 yards or 23 yards to score a touchdown. I think those are the things that you go back to and be like, hey, there's reasons why you're successful, and then there's reasons why you lose games too as well. And I always say like, hey, you win or you learn. Like, I mean, the only way I think that you lose, is when you hit the eject button, and just quit. And now it's time to go back to work here. And our message all week, obviously we'll get into more, and we talked a little bit about the history of these two programs and playing each other, but really it's about the Hawks being responsible for the Hawks and taking care of our stuff and making sure that we continue to do a good job of being loyal to winning and putting in real work and competing, Sunday through Friday, and continue on that, because I think our guys have done a good job of that. I don't think it was anything where we weren't ready to go or anything like that. It's just you have some of those plays on special teams, and now you get a little life in a building and some juice into their building, and now you're down 9-0, and it just creates some hard times, and just an uphill battle all day long. And to our guys' credit, we found a way to get it back to a one-score game and had a chance to be able to win it. And like I was telling you earlier, I think the one thing for us that where we need to grow is all three of our losses, we've had the ball at the end of the game to go down and score, and we ain't been able to get it done yet.
Well, how do you learn that? You have to go through it, or from your coaching experience. That's something you just got to go out and do it to prove it. We can do this.
Well, I think it's, when you talk about preparing guys, a big part for me is like, hey, having knowledge of prior experiences, when you've been in those. I think that's, to me, like, that's confidence. Confidence to me comes from, hey, I know what I'm doing. I know how to do what I'm doing. I feel like I'm capable of doing it through my training. And I really believe that good things are going to happen when I get in those situations. And not that it's going to happen 100% of the time, but I think my training will help me 90% of the time to be successful, because things just happen in games. Like if somebody slips or fall down, or it's a coverage that you don't see, or a guy comes off of, his guy and makes a great play on a different guy. But I think that's how you develop confidence. And those are things that we talk about with our guys in our culture all the time. And now I just think, like I said before, like, hey, we have to make sure that, it's not any external things that we're focusing on. It's our internal standards that we work on every single day. And I think if we can continue to do that, it's helped us, up to this point. Like you said, I think even, obviously won 5 in a row, but even I think the weeks before that, like going into some places and playing well really for, a majority of those games. And I think that's where we have to draw, our attention back to, is some of the knowledge of, hey, why did we have success? Why were we, playing really, really well throughout that stretch? It was because of the things that I mentioned, not making mistakes and not beating yourself.
Obviously, your background, your history with defense, to me, Eric, that's why you guys have been so good on the outside. Is defensively has been the biggest turnaround. Has that even surprised you, how well you've played defensively this year?
No, I think, that's something that as a former player here on that side of the ball, you have a lot of pride in, and a lot for a long time. I mean, when we were really rolling in the Roger Thomas and Dale Lennon years and that kind of stuff, it was our defense, right?
Yeah.
And I think, me and Tim have been at a few places on the West Coast talking about, when NDSU and why NDSU's been good, and he'll tell you it's the offense, and I'll tell you, hey man, like your defense is really, really good. A lot of those years, we lost one year to NDSU, and we were at Southern Illinois, and you were around. I can't remember the year it was, but they never got a first down until the fourth quarter.
That's
and
right.
we lost
Yep.
9-7 or something like that. And I was like, hey, don't tell me about how good your offense is that year. And obviously we're joking around because he's coaching on offense and stuff like that. But I mean, defense travels, right? Like that's, and I think they've done a great job, throughout the years of being consistent on that side of the ball. Grant's doing, the baton's been handed to him, and he's doing a great job with it too as well. And I think that's the thing, that if you're going to be a championship team, you better be good on that side of the ball. And coming in here from day one, that was something that was a point of emphasis for me. Obviously, Isaac's done really good things on the offensive side of the ball, and felt like, we were doing things there that could help our football team win, that we needed to continue to get better on the defensive side. And our guys have rolled up their sleeves and gone to work. To their credit, there hasn't been, any bowback or anything like that. Guys have bought in, and I think they're, playing with some confidence. And obviously, Saturday is going to be a little different animal. I know we played Youngstown, we played Bow, we've played, Southern Illinois with DJ, but I mean, what they got down there, man, like I said it the other day, it's like, God dang, as you start watching, it's like, hey, watching Tim Tebow back in the day a little bit, just a big dude that runs around. I mean, fast and strong. That's the thing that impresses me. I didn't obviously wasn't around when he was in high school and things like that to be able to see Cole, but just big, strong kid that, he gets going downhill, man. Like you got to have some courage to put your body on his body. He's a big dude.
I got to ask, knowing, and you addressed this in your press conference on Monday, that, yeah, it's the next game. It's a big one, but you still have two more after that. How much do you have to emphasize that? Yeah, this is the next game on this, and it's a big one. It's North Dakota State, but you still have Murray and South Dakota State that you can't put any more weight on this than you would a normal week, I guess is what I'm
Yeah,
asking.
no. I mean, that's the thing, right? We're not in the playoffs right now. It's not, your season's over if you lose or anything like that. And I think our guys understand that, but yet I do think you need to at some point early in the week, like I said, we talked about doing simple better and going through our process and making sure that we stayed loyal to winning. And then I'll sit down with them tomorrow morning and we went through some of the rivalry things and stuff like that. But I mean, when you step on the field that day, if you don't talk to them about, hey, it's going to feel different, when you come out and you see the other jersey, you talk about it all year long and then you see it, like there's some your blood starts boiling, like you're living those days, right? Like let's call it what it is. Everybody else wants to downplay it, like, and that's where I think it's the same. Like I remember, Oregon, Washington, and walking into
I was
outside
just
and
going
it's
to
like,
ask.
hey
I
man,
was just going to ask you about
like
that. Yeah.
your blood starts boiling and your hair standing up on the back of your neck. And I think all the fans and people like that, like, hey, it'd be awesome, what I mean, to be able to coach and all that kind of stuff. And you don't get all the bad parts about coaching when you don't get to see your kids every day and you got to go through all these meetings and things like that don't necessarily always care about winning and losing. But those are the days where you're like, hey man, I'm living today. And for our players and our coaches and for their players and their coaches, that's how it's going to be, man. It's going to be like, hey man, this is going to be a lot of fun, and it's why you do what we do. Like I said, it's why, and I think it's something that you guys have done a good job of, and I think our job as coaches and to help the media too as well is like, hey, this is why college football is special. Like I said, it ain't everybody loves talking about recruiting and the portal and NIL and rev sharing and how we're gonna, do all what's your NIL compared to ours and how much are your guys getting paid? Like that ain't what it's about. That's not what makes it different and what makes it fun and what makes it special. It's going through a journey with a group of guys, developing a brotherhood and getting better and achieving things together. That's what's cool about college football.
I was going to ask a couple things before I let you go. That you've been at Autzen Stadium, you've been at Husky Stadium. How much can a home field, now equating to the Alaris, be worth in a game like this?
Well, I think it helps for sure. I think just, on the offensive side of the ball, you're going to be stressed. Obviously, I think, as you've gone on in college football and you get to play, in all these different stadiums, like there's certain levels of loud, what I mean, too, as well. And I think you guys have, understood that too as well. Like you'll go to some places and yeah, it's loud, and then you get into some other places and it's not just third down. It's not just you get in the building and the energy and the buzz, and there's different levels of loud, that you have to go through. And I think, anytime you walk into those places, and especially it gets to, third and long and things like that, and there's a decided advantage, for instance, for a defensive lineman to know that, hey, they're not going, what I mean, they're the motions and things like that are going to be harder to time up and do all those things when, you can't hear and all that, and you're doing everything off of silence or clap cadence. So I definitely think it's an advantage. Now, does it, I mean, it's still not about the environment and you walk in there. It's about you going out there and doing the things that you have to do to be successful. But, I think you get to these games and you're happy that you're at home, and not on the road, when you're playing this weekend.
Last thing for you, Bud, and I have to ask the typical reporter question of a college football coach. Is a quick start necessary in a game like this? UND couldn't have got off to a better start in this game 2 years ago. Is that when you look at this North Dakota State team, is that necessary for you guys to win the game on Saturday?
Um, I mean, we talk about starting fast a lot in our program. I mean, if you look at, Dom, and this is just trying to understand college football and why teams are successful. You score first in college football. The last 6 years, you win like 70% of the games. You're leading at halftime, you win like 80% of the games. So I think, it's important now. You have to understand that, in big games and when there's those are a lot of times can be really good teams against teams that aren't very good. You're including all those different, games into that equation. I think when you get into, high level games off of it, that you have to be able to do a good job of, hey, momentum swings, trying to ride out and get as much, juice out of the momentum when it's on your sideline and try to gain as much separation as you can. And then when it's not, you got to really fight like heck, to be able to get field position and momentum back on your sideline. So I think, the message that, it's what I talked about with our guys last week, that, hey, whether it's, you're up, you're down, those types of things, you got to be able to play all 60. And I think that's the thing that I keep going back to. We've had some chances to win the games we've lost at the end. And I think the really good teams, they find a way to be able to, complete those drives at the end of games to take leads, to stress the other teams. Maybe you do, there's certain weeks you have some unfortunate bounces and you turn the ball over and things like that. Like, can you win ugly, in those weeks too as well? Because you saw in our league last week, like there was a lot of,
No doubt.
close games and things like that. And you got to be able to pull out those because, certain weeks it is what it is. But I think in those weeks, it goes back to fundamentals. It goes back to taking care of the football. It goes back to winning the explosive play ratio. And then it goes back to, field position. So I just think those things besides wins and losses are really important stats.
You got people coming out of the woodwork looking for tickets this week?
Oh yeah. A lot of friends, a lot of new friends that, all of a sudden are
people
trying to
found-
get in the building. So
Or people
I
found
got to
your
make sure.
phone number?
Yeah. Got to make sure it's not, some of Tim's relatives trying to give me a call to get in there too as well.
Thanks so much for doing this, bud. Good luck, and we'll see you on Saturday, okay?
Yep. Sounds good. You guys have a great rest of your week.